Bengals linebacker Logan Wilson has undergone surgery for his labrum that he had injured. He played through it during the Super Bowl, because why wouldn't you? Makes a whole lot of sense to play in the Super Bowl. Kyler Murray wants to be the highest, or top 3 highest paid quarterbacks. He wants a long-term deal and be top 3 highest paid. So let's go through the numbers of Kyler Murray. This year, he had an astonishing 70% in the first half of the season. Completion percentage. Touchdown to interception ratio was great. After his injury, they lost 4 of the last 5, and he was only completing 40% of his passes. This is a trend in the Cliff Kingsbury system for the last half decade, full decade, roughly, where they start up, a team of his starts off strong, and then it ends as a dud. Like last year, they were really good in the beginning of the year, and at the end of the year, they missed the playoffs. It looked like they were going to make the playoffs last year. They missed the playoffs. I think if you're Kyler, I understand it, but boy, I don't know. Like, that team didn't look good in the last 5 games, where they lost 4 of the final 5. And in the game against the Rams, they looked terrible. They didn't look like a football team. They looked like a JV team at a high school. They were terrible. They couldn't do anything. They couldn't do anything. Then one of the final plays that Kyler has, is he's turning, instead of trying to get sacked, instead of taking a sack and maybe take the safety, he's trying to throw the ball and like shovel it, but he shovels it kind of like forward, but like weirdly shoveled forward, and it gets intercepted, and they end up scoring. The Rams defense ends up scoring a touchdown, and then he takes himself out of the game because he doesn't want to play anymore. That's a problem, I think. But I said this before. We're entering, and I've said this to myself, we're in a very weird spot when we are saying that before, in the early years of broadcasting and sports media, we're in a very weird spot now. Because before that point, the media was flat out like, oh, he wants to do this. He's planning to do this. That makes sense. Now we're looking at a person's social media and they say, oh, they scrubbed everything of the NFL team that they're on off the media. That means he's mad. That means he doesn't want to be here. I don't understand why he wants to be the 3rd highest. I understand you have to pay him because he's Kyler, but at the same time, does he really deserve it? If you got the first half of the year, Kyler, yes. If you get the second half of the year, absolutely not. Sean McVay is in fact returning to the NFL in 2022. So that's all good. That's a good hope for the Rams to keep Sean McVay around. It's very smart. Saints have restructured Michael Thomas, locking him in for the 2022 season. The Packers have restructured David Bakhtiari for the 2022 season. Browns' Jack Conklin, their right tackle, agrees to a restructured contract. There was also Jarvis Landry, which we didn't know if he was going to be around, because the same thing happened. He's coming to social media. I mean, he's gone. No. He's staying. He got his contract restructured too. The Steelers have announced 3 more interviews for their soon-to-be open GM position, as Colbert will retire after the draft. As it's Joe Holtz, the player of personnel, play personnel for the Ravens. Van Carthon, Carthon I think is how it's pronounced. Director of Pro Personnel, and the 49ers now, but and Wendy, or Windy, I think it's Windy, who's the vice president of player personnel for, who's been all over the place. He was in Chicago, was in all these other places, so he's been around too. And a shocking twist of events, Arlene Marpet, the star guard for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, has announced retirement after 7 seasons with the Bucs. He was only 28 years old, and this is a new trend that guys are retiring in their late 20s, early 30s. He's joining a long list of players that are retiring very early. Understand the actual NFL career is 4 years on average. Marpet played 7 years, won a Super Bowl, but has now decided to hang it up after 7 seasons at age 28.